Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and today what I want to do is talk about different React tips and tricks. So just show you some cool things you might have not known or are just neat. So let's start off by showing you that there's an alternative to create React app. Now there are lots of different tools. I'm going to show you two that I've created that are particularly useful. So if you when you scaffold a project with Create React App, it gives you a lot of great stuff, but it is about 160 megs per install. Um, I created Create React Basic, which gives you an install that's about 60 megs. Okay, and still gives you a lot of tools. Still gives you all the Webpack and Babel transpilation. You can use Sass, but things like you get the there's no you get to choose your testing library. Um, a lot of the other kind of setup isn't there. You can add ESLint, you can add all those things. So if you just need a basic setup to play around with React, this is a great way to go. You just do npx create React basic. Okay, we'll just call this project 1. And see, there it is. Ta-da. Okay, so now all I have to do is cd into that folder, cd into project 1, do an npm install, and I'm ready to go. Off to the races. Okay. Oh. cd project 1, npm install. So I'll let that install. And then again, everything's here so you can tinker around with the settings if you want. Okay. Our next trick is going to be about props. Okay, so first let's actually create a secondary component. Let's create a button component. Okay, so import React from React, then const button, or we'll call this my button equals props yep, and we're just going to console log. Well, we don't even need the console log props, so we'll just return right now a button element. A button element with, we'll just say props dot label as a label. Boo. Okay, so let's import that to our app.js. Import my button. Oh, I don't think I exported it. Export default my button. Okay, import my button from /button, and then I will put some parentheses around this, create a fragment, and right now we'll just have my button. Okay, cool. So there it is. Save. So the first trick I want to show you is that you can actually pass a lot of props. Usually you would just have to type in the props right here. So you'd be like prop1 equals this and whatnot. What you can do is I can create an object. So we'll sit there and say, hey, color. Let's create an object calling, we'll call this my button props equals, and for now it's just props.label, or no, just label, and we're just gonna say click me. Okay. And then we should need an equals here. There we go. So my props equals this object. And then what I can do is I can add all the props by just doing this. Dot, 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 dot. My button props. So I'm just using the spread operator to take all those individual items, and instead of passing the whole object as a prop, I'm taking all the properties of that object and making them their own individual props without having to write them all. This can make my JSX look a little bit more neater, which is nice. Okay, so now let's test this out. Now create React Basic to run the dev server. It's npm run dev. So let's do that. Okay, and what did I do? Let's see here. My button props is not defined. Oh, I didn't write the word const. There we go. And there it is. And see, we get the click me prop. If I go to React Dev Tools, and I go to my button, see, I see the prop label click me. So that's pretty cool. Okay, nice. Now, let's see here. Another thing we'd like to do is maybe make it where the button has some default stylings. Okay, so let's create a style object. So const style equals, we'll say that the background color of the button is green. Sorry for all the sirens. I do live in Brooklyn where there just is constant sirens. Okay, color, that's the font color. That's going to be white. Let's add some padding. And actually we'll call this default styles. You'll see why. Okay, default styles. And then we'll say that the padding is 10 pixels. Why not? Let's make that 7. Then we'll just say border radius is 7, also 7 pixels. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say that styles or const styles equals, and that's if props.styles exists. Okay, actually we'll say custom styles just to give it more. If that exists, again using a ternary operator, then it's going to be a new object that spreads the default styles. So that way all the default styles are there, and then the custom styles will override those. So props.custom styles. And if not, then it's just the same thing as default styles. Okay. And the cool thing about this, it just makes it where the styles are completely customizable from the outside, but it still remains, but still has its default styling. So I go style equals styles. So hit save. Let's go take a look at the button. See, the button has now the styles. That's great. Okay. And so now I can add a custom styles property here. Okay, need to come over here. And let's say I change the background color to red. Okay, and again, that's all being passed in because I spread the props, so I don't have to go back in there and manually edit the props. I just keep adding them to this object. And see, now it's red, but all the other styling is intact. Very cool. And I can pass in other styling that wasn't originally in the default styles. So I can now say font weight 800. Font size 30 pixels. And see, even though those, see that being bold and that larger text weren't part of the default styles, since I'm combining two objects, I can give the user the ability to pass in pretty much all the styles they want via this object. Very cool. And of course, there's always the whole idea of destructuring your props. Okay, I could do this. Okay, so I could do like const. What are my props so far? Custom styles and label. And now they'd be freestanding variables. So I can now do this. And I can do this. And that's nice. Okay, and that definitely cleans up how some of my code looks. But to make it even better, I could do this. I can just destructure it as it even enters the function to begin with. The benefit of this is that you don't have props that you don't plan on using floating around in your memory. Because theoretically, I could just throw some large extra props that your component doesn't use, and that's going to be floating in memory because the props object is holding all of them. But this way, you're only destructuring the ones you want. There is no other outside reference to the props object as a whole, so I think it's likely it's going to get garbage cleaned earlier, those extra properties, or the fact that it'll leave your memory earlier. So that just makes it, one, it looks nicer, and two, theoretically maybe more performant. Okay, so cool. Other fun tricks. Now let's say we wanted to add a picture. Okay, so I'll just do this. We'll say above every button. Just add a fragment. Actually, I can do this in app. So we'll say above the button, I want to have an image tag. And then the source will equal some URL. Okay. And I'll define that up here. It'll be some URL that won't work. Const URL equals http://www.alexmercedcoder.com /image.png. Doesn't exist. Okay, so what's going to happen? I should get like a broken image, or just break the whole thing at the moment. Image source. What doesn't it like? Let's take a look at the console. Okay, props is not defined. Oh, well, I'm going to fix that. I am still referring the props somewhere in here. Oh, right here. There we go. Okay, and you see we see this broken image. Okay, so maybe I don't know if there is a broken image, so I want to set up a default image. Okay, so what I might do is I might create a function called const handle. We'll say handle broken image. Okay, then this is going to be an event handler, so we're going to say event. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say event. What am I thinking of? Okay, yeah, here we're going to say event dot target, because again we're pulling in the event, and the target of the event is going to be the image, even though I think I'm doing this in the wrong file. So let me cut that out of there. Bring it to app, because that's where the image is. Event.target.source. So that's going to be the source property of that image. And then what doesn't it like about this? Untitled broken image, something else open. Event is deprecated. Okie dokie. I'll just ignore that then. Okay. And then essentially what's going to happen is that we have to set this to a default image. So let's do that. So images.google.com. Just look up like a silhouette. Okay. So here we go. Copy image address. Cool. So what should be happening is that we then, whenever like you get a broken image from like a link to an image, it's going to be trigger an event called an error. You can actually access this in straight up HTML using an onError function. So we're just doing something you can do normally. But I know I didn't know this for the longest time. So figured it's a cool thing to know. OnError equals, and then here we pass in handle broken image. So now it should be pulling from that image instead. Let's see. Well, let's see. Here's some other errors I think I have to fix. Commented, module build. It's still complaining about that comment. Why? Oh, it's not an arrow function. My bad. There we go. And there you go. So see, it replaced the image with the default image because the default image did not succeed in loading. Okay, so that's a very useful trick because we always sometimes get APIs that link us to bad images. Having this in there can help make sure that everything looks okay. So that's a fun trick. Cool. So we did some styling stuff. Other fun stuff. Let's see here. Let's go back to button. Another fun trick is using functions to return JSX. So for example, okay, let's say you have some sort of property you're going to expose, but you don't know if you're going to have it. And let's say it's some props. So let's say const we'll say loaded, or we'll say if prop exists. Will be called the function equals. Okay, because let's show you what the problem would otherwise be. So let's say I'm expecting there to be a prop called hello, and we're going to assume that I went to destructure hello from props. So where am I? Oh, nope, I don't want to do this here. So let's say I want to destructure hello from here. And I plan, let's add a fragment. Okay, so I just enter here, and then enter here. Okay, so then I decide I want to do this. Here we're going to say hello dot stuff. Okay, that's going to cause an error. Okay, cannot read property stuff of undefined. Because what's happening is that I'm not sending a hello prop, so hello prop's undefined, and I'm trying to access a property of undefined, and that's a no-no in JavaScript in general. So I have to fix that. But there's stuff I want to do. Okay, so here's what I would do. I could do something like this. You know, I could just be like hello dot stuff, or I can actually even just say, hey, if hello exists, if hello, and just to be extra sure, I'll just say if hello and hello dot stuff both resolve as true, then show hello dot stuff. Okay, if not, show nothing. So I can use a ternary operator for that. I can, and that's fine. But what if I'm talking about like, I'm not just showing hello stuff. I'm going to do all this like elaborate JSX. These ternary operators start looking a little messy when you're writing a whole lot of JSX in them, and then there's another ternary operator in them and whatnot. The way you can clean that up is with a function. And the reason you're doing the function is because if I just create a variable, so if I were just to sit there and do this, const equals, and then I create some JSX, h1, and then here this says, and this is using hello.stuff. Okay, and then actually say const stuff. And then basically what I'm saying, okay, this variable, this h1 hello stuff, only shows up if, oh, man, broke it. Stuff, and that would be here. So essentially, if hello and hello stuff exists, show stuff, otherwise null. This is still break. This will still break. So I'm still getting cannot read property stuff of undefined. Because even though I have this ternary operator, it's still reading the property to create this variable. Okay, so this is going to be why we want to wrap it in a function. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a function called const. We'll say hello exists equals an arrow function, and this returns the h1 with hello stuff. Okay, so now when we do our ternary operator, just to make sure that the properties exist, instead of, I'll just say stuff exists. I mean, what was it? Hello exists. And then invoke the function, which is just going to return this JSX. So this will only run if this ternary operator is true. But in this case, I don't have all this JSX written here. So it's a little bit easier to read. I can be like, okay, if this is true, this runs. And if this is false, this runs, which is nothing. So right now, I'm not going to see anything. Okay, but if I go back and I suddenly pass a hello prop, so we'll add a hello prop to our props object. So I add a hello prop, and in that hello prop, there is a property called stuff. Just say equals, hey, it worked. Okay. There it is. Hey, it worked. Okay, and I don't get that error when it doesn't exist. So I think that's enough cool tricks for one video. Okay, now if you like things like router and context and all that cool stuff, I do have another tool other than Create React Basic. It's called Merced Spinup. So if you go to npmjs.com, Merced Spinup. Oh, I got to fix the README. Okay, but the idea is that this will allow you to make a bunch of different templates. So you can sit here, so you just do npx Merced Spinup. The template you want to copy, and then the name of your project, and it'll do essentially what Create React Basic does: copy the project to your computer, or make a copy to your computer. And there are a lot of templates to choose from. A lot of them are React. So you have ones like with React Router, React with Redux, React with using useReducer as Redux. Basically, Create React Basic is just creating this template here. There's a basic setup with React and Webpack. There's another one with React and Rollup, React with TypeScript. This is React with Sass and Bootstrap, React with Sass and Material UI. All these things pre-configured so that way you can just get on with your project. There's also backend templates for like Fastify, Koa, a whole bunch of different Express ones. Okay, and then some miscellaneous ones like just a basic TypeScript setup, a plain Webpack or Rollup setup, a TypeScript Next setup, Gulp, Grunt, Commander, which is for making CLI applications or CLI tools. So basically, this is a great way to spin up a new project. with a nice template to get you started. So my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Do like and subscribe. Join the Slack and Discord communities over there at devnursery.com. Have a great day and enjoy.